Welcome to Watercolor Lines, Exploring Color. I am Serena Rios McRae, watercolorist and digital artist based in Tucson, Arizona. I am passionate about teaching watercolor because of the healing and cathartic nature of the medium. Watercolor, when explored with creative freedom, is relaxing and beneficial for the mind, body, and spirit. In this lesson, I will share some essential watercolor techniques with you and encourage you to enjoy watercoloring with freedom and mindfulness. Before we get started, let's talk about watercolor supplies. So the first thing that you're going to need is your watercolor paper. Simple watercolor papers are readily available. My favorite is the Canson XL paper, which can be found at Michael's, craft stores, and on the internet. If you're beginning, you're going to want to start out with cold press watercolor paper. The next thing you're going to need is your watercolor palette. There are many different kinds, ranging in lots of prices, and I will give you a look into all the different styles in a minute. The third most important and essential item is your watercolor brush. My favorite type of brush and the most readily available is a simple round brush with a point. You're also going to need some type of towel or paper towel. I use a regular kitchen towel, which I can reuse and wash. You can also use a paper towel. If you use paper towel, you'll want it about 3 layers thick. And it comes with the name. You'll also need some water. I like to use 2 cups of water, and I'll explain to you why. Let's take a look at some types of watercolor palettes. So the most readily available watercolor is our typical Crayola or Rose Art palette, which we can find at any grocery store. There is also this craft grade watercolor palette, which can be found at craft stores and online. If you have tube watercolors, you can use a ceramic dish or a plate, and all you have to do is squeeze the paints out into little dollops, mix in water, and then you're ready to go. There are also travel palettes, which are absolutely fantastic. They come in these tins which fold out. You'll see that when you fold out the lids, they can also double as mixing palettes, which is really, really nice if you're on the go. These small limited colored palettes are one of my favorites. There are also options if you get more involved to buy an empty travel tin and you can fill it with your own pans of paint. This is one that I built myself with all of my favorite colors that I use the most often. And it also has the fold-out lids with the palettes for mixing your own colors. These travel palettes are really nice. They come with a ring you can slip your finger through if you want to hold your palette while you're working, so that you can hold on to it securely. When shopping for watercolor palettes, know that they do come in many different shapes, colors, and sizes. And what I am teaching you today works with any type of watercolor palette that you find. For this lesson, I will be using my favorite palette, which is the one that I built myself with all of my favorite colors. Now let's set up our watercolor space and get ready to paint. I have 2 mugs which I fill with water, and I place them on a washcloth to catch any drips as I'm working. I like to have 1 cup of water for clean water that I can bring to activate my paints, and I like to use another cup for rinsing my brush out. That way I can continue to paint and I have 1 clean and 1 for dirty, and I don't have to constantly be refreshing my water while I work. If you find yourself using dirty water, that dirty water is going to color your paints and cause them to be dirty as well. Before we begin watercoloring, it's very important to activate your paints. I like to use this little spray bottle just full of plain water, and I spritz my paints about 5 or 10 minutes before I begin painting. When you do this, the water will soak down into the dried paints and activate them. This will encourage the paints to come up easily into your brush when you begin painting, and you will get vibrant colors. If you are dipping your brush into a dry pan of paint, the colors are not going to lift in the same way, and they will be more dull. Now that we have all of our supplies, let's take a look at the lesson that we'll be doing today. This lesson is going to be a very fun and simple study of color. Something as simple and easy as just drawing lines allows us to spend more time thinking about our color composition than the design itself. Discovering colors that go together or a color palette that pleases us is as important in creating artwork as any other skill. But overall, the practice of choosing colors for the sake of choosing colors is easy to let go, enjoy, and have fun. And who knows what you'll discover. When you get started, you're first going to want to wet your brush. You need to have water in your brush to invite that color into the bristles. Now let's spend a minute to look at some brush technique. Using my round brush, I am placing it on the side of the bristles and dragging it across long ways to create a thick line. Now let's take a look at that from another angle. You can see that I'm holding the brush towards the paper, but placing the bristles down flat. Let's try that one together one more time. Place your bristles down flat and drag them across the page. Next, we'll be creating a slightly thinner line by holding the brush in a different way. We held the brush like this for a thick line. Now we're going to turn it the other direction, drag it along to make a thinner line. Let's take a look at this from another angle. We're still pressing the bristles down flat and dragging them across the page, but we are holding the brush a different way than we did before. This is how we held it for a thicker line, and this is how we'll hold it for a thinner line. Let's look at that from a different angle one more time. Now, as we are working with different colors through this experiment, I want to make a note to you to notice how thorough I am being in making sure that my brush is clean as I go from dark colors to lighter colors. Now I'm going to teach you how to make the thinnest line possible with this round brush, using the tip of the brush. To make thin, delicate lines, you're going to want to hold the brush pointing straight at the paper, and I like to use my hand to support the brush and make as light of a touch on that paper as possible. I showed you that very quickly, so let's go ahead and look at that again. You're going to want to brace the brush against your hand and use your hand to keep the brush as light as possible on the page. Here is a look at that angle closely one more time. Let's quickly review what we just learned. You're going to hold the brush flat against the page to make a thick line, turn the brush the other direction, flat against the page for a thinner line, and perpendicular to the page with the very, very tip of the point to make a thin line. Now, with these techniques in hand, let's start playing with color. I am choosing to mentally split my page into 4 different sections, and I will be exploring different color palettes that I think will go fun together in each quarter of the page. As you begin to explore color with the simplistic idea of just painting lines on a page, I encourage you to get creative with mixing up different thicknesses of lines as I taught you, and to try different colors. The magnificence of watercolor to me is the simplicity of it. The supplies are minimal, and the setup is simple enough that you can watercolor anywhere. There are no consequences in life to how you explore with watercolor. You can do absolutely anything that you choose to do. And in this exercise, you can choose absolutely any colors that you choose to put together. There are no rules, and that is why I love to teach watercolor to as many people as I can. I hope by this point in the video that you are starting to get your brush wet and get creative. You can see that I am still taking the time to clean my brush between each color that I choose, washing it off in the dirty water cup and picking up fresh water in the clean water cup. Remember that to get the most vibrant colors possible, your brush needs to be wet and your paints need to be wet. And it's best to have those wet with clean water from your clean water cup. Now I am going to paint along with you, exploring some different color palettes, and I encourage you to get creative with the colors that you choose as well. During this moment in the video, I'm going to put on some music for you to listen to while you explore along with me. And if you want to copy what I am doing completely to the T, that is absolutely okay. Whether you are getting creative for the first time in your life, or whether this is a simple exercise to help you warm up before your artistic practice, I hope that you enjoy painting along with me. Congratulations! You have completed Watercolor Lines Exploration in Color. I hope that this lesson was empowering and freeing for you in your artistic practice. Drawing lines as an exploratory practice to learn how to understand how colors go together and how to create interesting color palettes is a practice that you can do to get creative, to experience artistic therapy, or to study at a greater level. Thank you so much for participating.